the weather forecast with MTN.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to have you for this brand new edition of the weather forecast and the last for this month of January. It will be sunny in the whole country with slight dust suspension. We will have a maximum temperature of 38 degrees expected in the north region, 37 degrees in the far north region, 35 degrees is expected in the center region, 34 degrees in the east, and as well as in part of the south region. We will have a maximum of 33 degrees in the northwest region. Let's get details now in the Adamo region, where it will be sunny in the whole region this afternoon for you to go on with your activities. But in the evening, clear skies are not likely to dominate in Menganga with a maximum of 27 degrees. Next, we go to the west region, where it will be sunny this afternoon with a maximum of 25 degrees. And in the evening, clear skies are likely to dominate. And we end with the southwest region, where precipitation are expected in Boya and Limbe this afternoon, and in the evening, precipitation are expected in Limbe only with a maximum of 29 degrees. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to go visit the Rumde Adia Stadium of Garwa. Have a fruitful Sunday. Goodbye.
Madame, Messieurs, bonjour et bienvenue aux 12h. Nous sommes le 31 janvier 2021. Les titres, bonjour Caroline.
Hello Agnès, hello and welcome to the midday bilingual news. I'm Caroline Okie-Anoma. Top in our headline news today. Today is International Day of Leprosy. What has been done so far to curb this deadly disease, which is already ravaging over 200,000 people each year? We'll be finding that in our subsequent newscast. And in sports football, Morocco will lock heads with Zambia at the Douala Reunification Stadium at 5 p.m., while Rwanda will challenge Guinea at 8 p.m. at the Limbe Omnisport Stadium. In our magazine page, we will be taking you here in the Central region to visit the Natigal Falls. Those were our top stories, the first part of this midday bilingual news. First with you, Agnès Abesolo. Over to you, Agnès.
Malgré nos efforts, le Covid-19 a endeuillé de nombreuses familles et provoqué de graves difficultés dans le fonctionnement de notre économie et de notre société.
Bienvenue aux 12h, Madame, Messieurs. Le Cameroun se joint donc ce dimanche à la communauté internationale pour commémorer la journée mondiale de la lèpre, thème de la 178e édition. La lèpre n'est pas ce que tu penses. Une commémoration, une cérémonie se déroule en ce moment à l'hôpital Jameau avec les membres du cercle des amis du Cameroun qui sont venus auprès des malades. Et au micro de Joseph Clément Ongba, le secrétaire permanent du comité national de lutte contre la lèpre, le docteur Ernest Ndji Taba, ici au micro de notre reporter.
Cette 68e journée mondiale de la lèpre se place sur le signe de lutte contre la stigmatisation et l'exclusion sociale envers les personnes affectées par la lèpre. Et c'est pourquoi nous avons un thème, la lèpre n'est pas ce que tu penses. Et tout le monde pense que la lèpre est une punition divine, la lèpre est de la sorcellerie, la lèpre est héréditaire, alors que la lèpre n'est ni ou l'un de tout ce que nous mentionnons là. La lèpre, en fait, c'est une maladie infectieuse qui est devenue d'ailleurs banale et qui est curable. Quand on a une ou plusieurs taches insensibles sur la peau et on se fait dépister tôt, le traitement est là, disponible et gratuit. Et après ce traitement, on est guéri et on évite toutes les complications qui viennent avec la lèpre. Ce don que ces RAC donnent vient quand même combler ces gaps, ces besoins qu'ils en ont parce qu'ils n'ont pas toujours la possibilité de le procurer eux-mêmes.
Anyway, well, we'll take you now from Yaoundé here. We'll take you over to the Northwest region, precisely in Bamenda, where a pontifical mass service is currently going on in the Mancon Roman Catholic Church. The service is presently conducted by Pope Francis' special envoy to Cameroon, His Eminence Pedro Cardinal Petrolin. As Kilo Valerie Sala is right there at the service and now brings us what is happening at the service. Kilo, if you're ready, we are ready.
Welcome to the Mancon Metropolitan Cathedral, precisely at the Centenary Plaza, where the event to receive His Eminence, the Secretary of State for Vatican, is unfolding. It's a solemn mass that is taking place here, with the high point being the presentation of the pallium to the Archbishop of the Bamenda Archdiocese, His Grace Andrew Kea. Actually, the event unfolded with His Eminence Cardinal Pietro emphasizing on the need for peace and reconciliation in the crisis-hit Northwest region, and talking about the position of the Roman Catholic Church, the Vatican, which is about intense dialogue to be able to resolve the crisis. President Kobe has been represented here by the Secretary General of the Presidency, Ferdinand Gongo, who is part of a high delegation of top officials in the country. And so the church service is not yet complete, but we're treating towards the end, during which the Archbishop himself and the representative of the Vatican are expected to make more interviews to the press with regards to the crisis in the Northwest region and how it can be resolved. Live from the Mancon Metropolitan Cathedral, this is Kilo Valerie Sala for CRTV News.
Bienvenue, Madame, Monsieur. Les Lions sont donc en demi-finale. Depuis hier, les poulains de Martin Ntungu Mpile ont arraché cette victoire après un duel de haute lutte face aux léopards de Florent Ibengue de la République démocratique du Congo. Et nous, les Lions A' qui rejoignent ainsi dans le carré du Chan, les Aigles du Mali, premier qualifié RDC Cameroun. Résumé du match avec David Kemi.
Le match est terminé. Les Lions n'en reviennent pas. Eux qui, ces derniers jours, ont déchanté, profitent de la chaleur du public. Gagnés avec manière qui puisse être, les Lions n'ont pas fait les choses à moitié face aux rivaux de la RDC. Première titularisation et bonne impression pour Joseph Yannick Ndjeng, une équipe camerounaise retouchée. Face aux léopards, les Lions ont mis en jeu de l'audace et un brin de folie pour retrouver et redonner de la joie au public. Les joueurs de Martin Ntungu Mpile ont tenu le match jusqu'au bout devant les doubles champions du Chan. Les Lions ambitieux et déterminés, oui, mais car il y a un mais, les léopards ont eu des phases de balade dans la défense des Lions. Les vieux démons ont rôdé. Heureusement, les Lions n'ont pas craqué. 2-1 ont suffi pour ouvrir les portes des demi-finales. C'est l'épilogue d'un match qui s'est bien disputé avant le coup d'envoi.
Et après cette victoire, le ministre de l'Éducation physique est allé au vestiaire encourager et féliciter les Lions A'. Nous l'écoutons.
Vous aviez promis de faire rêver les supporters et le grand public camerounais, et vous avez tenu vos promesses, étant en cela fidèle à l'engagement que vous avez pris de donner suite à l'interpellation du président de la République qui, à la veille de vos premiers matchs, vous demandait de défendre les couleurs de la patrie avec ferveur, ardeur, vigueur et patriotisme. Ce soir encore, vous avez démontré la force, la puissance de votre engagement et vous honorez le stade de Japoma, cette très belle infrastructure sportive, de la première victoire d'une sélection nationale du Cameroun sur ce stade. Le premier supporter des Lions Indomptables, lui, le concepteur de ce bel édifice dans lequel nous nous trouvons, je voudrais vous réitérer ces félicitations et surtout vous encourager à aller de l'avant. La prochaine étape, c'est celle des demi-finales. Vous devez dès à présent commencer à préparer cette étape, à vous apprêter à la franchir.
Thank you very much and welcome back to this part of the midday bilingual news. We'll continue with sports where the quarterfinals will today, Sunday, meet with the defending champions of Morocco. That means there will be the first match will be Morocco and Zambia at the Limbe Stadium, while Rwanda will challenge Guinea. We have Daniel Ekonde who will preview today's games. Take a look.
Morocco continue the defense of their title against Zambia this Sunday at the Douala Reunification Stadium at 5 p.m. First goal for last term's MVP Ayoub El Kabi meant the hotshot is loosening from his frustrating start. Hussein Amuta's men are confident to see off Zambia, who are aiming to surpass the stage where they crashed out in 2018. The Chipolo Polos are unbeaten so far and will hope to continue in that light. Sunday's other game is at 8 p.m. and will see Rwanda challenge Guinea at the Limbe Omnisport Stadium. The Amavubi started off with goalless draws against Morocco and Uganda before progressing to the quarters with a hard-fought victory against Togo. But their opponents got off well with a 3-0 bashing of Namibia, but stumbled to draws against Zambia and Tanzania. Rwanda have never gone past the quarterfinals, while the Sili Nacional were semi-finalists in 2016.
Still with football, Cameroon came from behind to equalize thanks to Yannick Zheng's action up front, and Felix Okenye scored from a 20-meter drive at the first half of the trailing encounter. CRTV's Romeo Kenye has the highlights of yesterday's encounter. Take a listen.
Finally, Cameroon's Intermediate Lions get a pioneer semi-final ticket after 2 consecutive attempts. The spirited quarter-final pairing against the Leopards of the Democratic Republic of Congo was spiced with excellent football fundamentals. In the first segment, a Cameroonian domination saw effort from Manyikre Asana crash above the woodwork. Barely some 21 minutes into action, Congolese forward Lilepo converted a corner kick into an opener. 8 minutes after, Yannick Zheng came retaliating for the Intermediate Lions via a Leopard defensive naivety. 2 goals at halftime, both selections came back from reserves with determination and rigor. The Congolese multiplied incursions but failed to overpower an ever-ready keeper, Ashu Kerito. Forward lad Ako Asomo came closer, adding tally, but efforts were dashed on the pole. The goal margin will remain Cameroon's advantage till the end of the game.
I urge you once again to put on your face masks, to wash your hands regularly, and to consult a physician or any other health personnel if you notice any symptoms. This is the only way to save lives and to curb the spread of the virus.
Mesdames, Messieurs, vous regardez le 12h sur les antennes CRTV. Parlons éducation à présent. Samuel Eto'o-Fils apporte son soutien aux élèves et enseignants de l'arrondissement de Bogo. C'est dans le département du Diamari. Il a offert du matériel didactique au lycée de la localité. C'était au cours d'une cérémonie qui a drainé du beau monde des admirateurs en l'occurrence. Le reportage de Francine Diaba, CRTV Extrême Nord.
La visite de l'ancien capitaine des Lions indomptables Samuel Eto'o dans l'arrondissement de Bogo, dans le Diamari, se traduit comme un espoir pour la jeunesse.
Nous devons accompagner cette jeunesse-là, améliorer certaines conditions pour qu'elle puisse avoir plus d'opportunités dans notre société. À chaque fois que le besoin se présentera, je serai là pour accompagner mes jeunes frères et sœurs.
À Bogo, le Goliador a matérialisé sa vision, celle de promouvoir l'éducation des jeunes et surtout celle de la jeune fille. Il a offert au cours d'une cérémonie symbolique du matériel didactique aux élèves et au corps enseignant du lycée de Bogo. Un moment inoubliable pour Habiba Abdou, élève en classe de 3e dont l'éducation est désormais prise en charge par le triple vainqueur de la Champions League européenne. Une décision prise séance tenante parce que émue par le discours de la jeune élève prononcé à son endroit. Pour l'honorable Amadou Sali, fils de la localité, Samuel Eto'o est un exemple de persévérance et de réussite pour les jeunes de Bogo.
C'est un très grand honneur et un très grand plaisir. Et nous sommes là, derrière la jeunesse. Et quand on se retourne, on te regarde, on sait qu'on peut compter sur toi pour aller avec la jeunesse.
L'étape de Bogo s'est achevée par un match de football auquel ont assisté des milliers de supporters et fans, au premier rang desquels le gouverneur de l'extrême nord, Medjiawa Bakari.
Toujours dans le social, parlons des femmes vulnérables et des violences basées sur le genre. C'est le thème abordé au cours d'une table ronde organisée par l'association de lutte contre les violences faites aux femmes, Working with Women Cameroun. Rosine Mangar nous parle des objectifs.
Violence conjugale, difficulté de toucher la pension retraite du conjoint décédé sont quelques-unes des situations que vivent certaines femmes au quotidien. La lutte contre ces fléaux est l'objet de l'engagement de l'association humanitaire Working with Women Cameroun.
On a organisé cette conférence pour attirer l'attention des partenaires publics et privés, pour aussi aider les femmes déplacées, les veuves qui souffrent et aussi les filles vulnérables.
La protection de la gente féminine est un axe majeur de la politique gouvernementale.
Le ministère de la promotion de la femme et d'autres ministères peuvent donner tous moyens pour faire en sorte que la situation des femmes victimes de violences basées sur le genre est résolue.
Créée il y a 2 ans, l'association Working with Women Cameroun, à travers des stratégies de prévention, a favorisé l'autonomisation de diverses catégories de femmes.
Welcome back, and you're watching the Midday News live from Studio 5 of CRTV Mbalato. And to other news other than sports, victims of gender-based violence have been urged to speak out while seeking for legal assistance. This was during a roundtable session organized by a non-governmental organization working with women in Cameroon. Their objective is fighting for the rights of vulnerable women in Cameroon. CRTV's Gerald Nanje Iyambe has more of that story. Take a listen.
The battle against gender-based violence is far from being won. It is for this reason that Working with Women Cameroun, an organization fighting for the rights of the vulnerable women, is on an awareness offensive.
To empower the displaced women from Northwest and Southwest, and even with widows. We make the widows to understand that being a widow is not the end of your life. You need to walk out of widowhood and empower yourself.
Victims can seek legal assistance thanks to a shared collaboration.
The ministry is also working with the police and the gendarmes to train them on how to effectively fight gender-based violence, working with civil society organizations to see into it that gender-based violence is eliminated.
A pro bono, that is, some courageous lawyers buy over the case and treat it for nothing.
Working with Women Cameroun has been advocating for the rights of the vulnerable for the past 2 years.
For our midday guest, one of the industries which has had practically no fallout from the coronavirus pandemic is the telecom sector. To explain why AT is a telecom communication engineer with about 20 years of experience is the mobile telephone industry. Our guest tonight or this afternoon is Carl Torial. He was interviewed by Charles Sebone.
Carl Toriola, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's good to be back to what I consider to be my home, Cameroon.
The aviation industry, for example, lost roughly $314 billion last year because of the coronavirus pandemic, according to the International Air Transport Association. Quite rare to hear such lamentation figures from the telecommunications industry. Why?
Well, before we speak about the telecommunications sector, I think we must also recognize that a lot of people have suffered tragic losses from COVID-19 and significant illnesses. So our hearts go out from MTN, from all of our countries, Cameroon, Nigeria, South Africa, etc., to all those people who have been impacted by COVID-19. Naturally, certain sectors of the economy have been affected. As you've mentioned, the airline industry, hospitality, anything which relates to a person moving around has been affected. For us, our business has pretty much remained the same as a result of two things. One, there's an increased demand on data connectivity, that because of people using tools like MTN, like Microsoft Teams, tools like Zoom to do more meetings, and using data calls to stay in touch through video calls. Consumption of content like Netflix has also increased. However, for the segment of the population that is not data active and whose livelihoods have been affected by the restriction of movements in many countries as a result of the pandemic, they have had less disposable income, and a lot of these people rely on voice. So there's been a decrease in voice traffic while there's been an increase in data traffic, and this balances out. One must also point out that in most of our markets, the data-capable subscribers using smartphones is between 35 and 45%. So there's still a big segment of our markets that are still not on data-capable handsets.
Out of the nearly half a century of your existence on Earth, technology has been you, and you have been part of technology. Do you understand that one of the reasons why the telecommunications sectors has been resistant to COVID-19 is principally because governments and other partners of the development chain invested in technology?
It's because the technology enables people to remain in touch. The technology is not just an enabler of relationships. Relationships of families, relationships of loved ones, business relationships, relationships between business and government. And once you enable those relationships in a time when movement is restricted, then you see an upside to it to a large extent.
As earlier said, we said today is the International Leprosy Day, and it is the 68th day, 68th World Leprosy Day. It is observed under the theme, Leprosy is not what you think. According to the World Health Organization, there are still some 200,000 cases diagnosed each year, and you have many millions of other people that are moving around with disabilities caused by leprosy. CRTV's Enanga Kebi spoke to the Permanent Secretary for the Fight Against Leprosy, Ernest Njitaba. Take a listen.
68th leprosy, World Leprosy Day is celebrated in Cameroon under the sign of fight against stigma and social exclusion. Reason why the theme of this day is leprosy is not what you think. Why? In the general population, there are a lot of misconceptions, a lot of erroneous beliefs regarding leprosy. People think that leprosy is a spell, leprosy is due to witchcraft or divine punishment, leprosy is hereditary. None of these thoughts and perceptions is true. Leprosy is actually a contagious disease that is curable, and leprosy does not begin with those signs that we see, with the complications that we see. Leprosy begins with one or more skin patches that have lost sensitivity. At this level of development, if you are detected and put on treatment, you will be cured. We are thankful to this gesture of CERAC, which is a sign of solidarity and compassion to people, victims of leprosy, who unfortunately developed complications.
I think we'll be moving up to the Northwest Province, this time still with the Pontifical Mass of the Eminence, Cardinal Pedro Parolin. I think we have that in French.
Oui, Caroline, nous allons plutôt à la découverte du Cameroun profond, et c'est en page magazine. Découvrir donc les chutes de Nachtigal sur le fleuve Sanaga, l'une des grandes merveilles du patrimoine touristique camerounais. C'est dans la région du centre. Paul Alain Abena est notre guide.
Les chutes de Nachtigal sur le fleuve Sanaga. Un spectacle sublime, un décor magnifique. Normal que des contingents de visiteurs viennent s'extasier chaque jour devant ces splendeurs sans pareil.
Quand je regarde les chutes, vraiment, on voit les merveilles de Dieu. Je n'ai pas de mots pour exprimer ça, c'est vraiment... C'est très beau. C'est très beau. très très beau.
Un site féerique, découvert il y a plus d'un siècle par l'explorateur éponyme. Toute une histoire.
Et il s'est retrouvé à sa grande surprise dans cette zone où nous sommes actuellement, appelée Nachtigal. Il a découvert une très belle chute et qu'il a baptisé à son nom Nachtigal.
Un spectacle paradisiaque vu du pont nouvellement construit. Mais on peut aussi s'en rapprocher au moyen des pirogues pour amplifier le charme.
Il y a des blancs qui viennent, il y a des noirs, il y a des enfants, des petits-enfants, il y a des grandes personnes. C'est un endroit vraiment très beau, agréable.
Un objet de fascination constante, ces chutes. Un cadeau de la Providence que la commune de Ntui a l'intention de rentabiliser.
Dans le budget de plus tard 2022, ce site sera pris en compte et il sera construit.
Un week-end à Nachtigal, pourquoi pas? La merveille, en tout cas, est un appel au voyage, à la contemplation. Tout juste 1 heure de route en partant de Yaoundé et des sensations uniques à expérimenter.
Well, yes, I think that's a place that we're actually going to experiment. We would like to discover the Nachtigal Falls. But before we go, we want to remind you about the Press Hour Rendezvous, which will be shortly after this newscast. You'll be meeting Killian Dan Defoe, who will be looking at making a roundup of all the accidents that have happened around the country. You will bear with me that we've had a couple of them. And so don't miss our Press Hour. That is what we call, that's where we call it off for this edition of the Midday Bilingual News. Thanks for watching. On behalf of the Midday Bilingual Newscast, we say goodbye. Goodbye, Agnès, even though you won yesterday because your pronostic was 2-1.
Right. Merci, madame, messieurs, d'avoir suivi. Je vous souhaite un très beau dimanche.
Stay blessed. Bye-bye.
Malgré nos efforts, le Covid-19 a endeuillé de nombreuses familles et provoqué de graves difficultés dans le fonctionnement de notre économie et de notre société.